New York for the protest against the removal of the religious exemption in New York. Another amazing event, huge turnout, amazing speakers. We're going to talk about that too because it made national news. CBS covered that story both that day and the next day. Press is all over it. This thing is changing, it's shifting. This giant ship is starting to move our way more and more. I believe that we're getting, we haven't reached fully fair and balanced reporting, but we are getting better and better reporting on this. It's very exciting. We're going to talk about all those things. Right now, I want to let you know that we had some major technical issues this morning. We've had power surges in the country and around the world when it comes to vaccines and issues like that. Of course, we're going to be talking about this super dangerous hepatitis B vaccine that has injured over 8,000 children in Israel and has been recalled. That's going to be an amazing story. But first, I think a story that I have been tracking since I was a producer on the CBS talk show, The Doctors, and of course, that's glyphosate, Roundup. Glyphosate being the product in Roundup that the World Health Organization years ago reported was probably carcinogenic to human beings. We've been tracking the lawsuits on that, and we've talked to Brent Wisner before. He's going to be with us in just a moment to discuss one of the largest settlements in history. If you were watching the news, this is what's happening to Monsanto.
A multi-billion-dollar verdict tonight for a husband and wife from Livermore. They say the weed killer Roundup gave them cancer.
In 1982, they bought their dream home and wanted to keep the weeds out of the driveway, want to keep the weeds away from the pool.
The couple sprayed Monsanto's weed killer Roundup at their Livermore home and a few other properties for more than 30 years.
From their ads, we felt that it was incredibly safe.
Then both Alva and Alberta, now in their 70s, developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Monsanto keeps denying that it causes cancer. And these two fine people here are casualties of that deception.
The verdict stated that the punitive damages were for malice, oppression, or fraud on Monsanto's part.
Now Alberta needs $21,000 worth of medicine a month or she dies.
We wish that Monsanto had warned us ahead of time.
This is going to continue until Monsanto and now Bayer takes responsibility for its product.
I don't think there's a better example of industry lying to the public. Monsanto, which was purchased by Bayer just last year, probably the biggest mistake Bayer ever made. But what we've been watching in this issue is just like the other discussions we have on the show, whether it's vaccines or drugs, we were told this product was safe. This product is being sprayed on over 80 to 90% of our crops in America. People are using it in their backyards. And now we're finding out that it causes cancer. Thousands of cases are lining up. And if they keep going this way, who knows what's going to happen to Bayer and Monsanto. But at the front of this, the lawyer that is driving this, Brent Wisner, you're joining me today. Thank you so much for coming in, Brent.
It's good to see you again. It's good to see you again.
So tell me about the settlement. It's a big one.
Yeah, so I mean, this is the third trial we've had. The first one is when I came on the show before with Mr. Johnson's case. This case was a husband and wife, Mr. and Mrs. Pilliard, who both contracted the same type of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma after spraying glyphosate and Roundup for over 30 years. And they're just an amazing couple, and they had the courage to take on Monsanto and now Bayer, and we kicked their butt. The jury awarded unanimously punitive damages, and we have a $2 billion verdict against them, which is historic.
2 billion with a B.
Yeah, that's right.
2 billion with a B.
That's right.
I was, you're a lawyer. I imagine that these are the things like when you're going through law school, you dream of like that, the big case, doing something spectacular. Sort of as journalists, we want to uncover that big story. The next Woodward and Bernstein. What does it feel like in that moment to have a jury decide a $2 billion case in your favor?
All I've ever wanted to do was to be in front of a jury for a righteous cause, right? And there could be no more righteous cause than taking on a company like Monsanto that for hundreds of years has been poisoning Americans and the world, really. Yeah. And, getting that verdict and knowing that I could trust the jury system to do the right thing, it fills my heart. it fills my soul with what I'm trying to do here. And it really is nothing better you can do for someone in my profession, I think. And so to answer your question, it's a life-changing event. And more importantly, I get to see in real time how this litigation that we're doing is making a real difference. I mean, Bayer's value has dropped 45%. Whew.
Well done.
It's outrageous.
Well
I mean, it's
done.
a lot of value,
Yeah.
and it's directly because of these lawsuits. And it's our hope by the time we're done with this, they're going to warn people that it causes cancer. There's going to be restrictions on the use of Roundup, and consumers who are spraying the stuff in their garden will actually have an opportunity to make an informed decision about whether or not they want to expose themselves to this stuff.
I think that when you look on your television, you see $2 billion awarded to two people. There must be something wrong with this. So what, first of all, how does that work? How do you did you ask for $2 billion? How does that work? Like, how does that number come about?
Sure. So when I was with the jury, we knew that Monsanto had sold, it made profit upwards of approximately $900 million in 2017. That was the last year before Bayer took over. Okay. And I showed the jury that number, and I said, I first was going to ask you to award that number. But then I realized that's profit, right? That's the amount of money that Monsanto made after it paid all of its employees, all the bonuses went out. That's after all the fraud. That's the money in their pocket. And asking you to award that amount of money is sort of like asking a bank robber to just give the money back. Sure, you give the money back, but you also have to get punished. It's the beginning of justice. It's not the end. So I said to the jury, you have to go north of that number. What that number is, you decide. And then I showed him an email with a Monsanto employee that said it was $1 billion question. And I said, this is $1 billion question. Well, the jury heard me. And they said, $1 billion for Mr. Pilliod, $1 billion for Mrs. Pilliod. And as I explained to them, it's not about giving money to the Pillieds because they don't need that kind of money. It's not about that. Right. It's about taking money away from Monsanto and speaking the language that they speak, it's the language of money. And so I think that resonated with the jury, and we got this really monumental and historic award.
How big is it in comparison to other awards? I mean, I know, every once in a while, I think Biox settled somewhere in the $3 billion range, I believe it was.
But those are settlements.
Okay.
Right? This is just two people getting a verdict at trial. And if you actually look at the history of it, and I've seen different reports on this, but the most recent report I heard was from Bloomberg, is that this is the 8th largest verdict in history. Wow. Which is kind of an amazing statement. I mean, I think Bayer and Monsanto need to take a hard look in the mirror and say, you know what? We don't have a leg to stand on. We're in trouble. Yeah. We need to do something about our product here. And I think that this verdict is a massive first step in that direction. We got more cases to try, though.
Absolutely.
You guys see this? This is good news. I know we have done many prayer videos on this, exposing the big pharma, the cause of cancer, the vaccine industry. We have done many of prayer videos, so I'm glad I came across this message, this video clip, and this a news article. Just a confirmation that God is hearing our prayer, and also to encourage us to continue to pray that these principalities who call themselves Big Pharma, Monsanto, vaccine industry, CDC, the UN, whatever other names they're hiding behind, we're going to continue to pray that these principalities will be brought down, and that the wealth and the resources that they have acquired at the expense of human lives, that they will lose every single one of those wealth, that the company will crumble, and they'll begin to pay back each individual for the damages they have caused to their lives and their health. I know there's no price on human life, but at least $2 billion awarded to these old couples, it cannot give them back the health that Monsanto have destroyed. We're giving some peace at least. Can you imagine that they're suffering from such disease, and then they have no money to even be treated? At least they have $2 billion will help them. Even if they don't survive, the generation after them have something to benefit from at the expense of these Monsanto people. And I want us to continue to pray that there will be a rise up, an explosion of class action lawsuit across the globe for anyone who have been affected by the vaccine industry, the big pharma industry, the Monsanto, the UN. Many of us know, if you don't know it, go and do your research, that the Bill Gates and the Melinda Gates Foundation, They always pushing vaccine in Africa, talking about they're trying to eradicate Ebola. I wish our leadership in Africa can open their mind, open their heart, and begin to find out and ask questions. What exactly are in those vaccines that you are giving to the African children? Why are Africans being used as medical guinea pigs? And our leadership don't want to. Our leadership have no clue. And when you try to spread the news with other Africans, they say it's not possible because Bill Gates is a wonderful person. This rich white dude just coming to save these poor white people in Africa. Like, really? Do your research, people. The Bill Gates and all of those people. I'm going to continue to pray and join me in your prayers that God will expose their evil agenda, cause their kingdom and empire to crumble, and the wealth and money they have acquired over the years at the expense of human lives, they will lose those wealth in class action lawsuit in Jesus' name. Help me spread this video. Leave your comments below, and let's continue to wage war in the heavenlies that these principalities will be brought down in Jesus' name. God bless you. Bye-bye.